Unspoken Issues.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Unspoken Issues podcast. Gimmick Cover Summer continues. Here we go, ladies and gentlemen. This is our first poll. It's our second episode. Do the math. I ain't doing it for you. We are getting ready to discuss.
I was not told there was going to be math involved.
That over there is Evan Bevins. Evan, it's Gimmick Cover Summer, and we are going to be talking about some of the coolest gimmicks that came out in the 90s for comic books. Are you ready?
I am always ready.
He's always ready. He's always Evan, too. Down there is Chris Armstrong. He's the guy that put this first one together, this first poll that we had, the Unspoken, the legions of the Unspoken get together and make a decision along with some other friends of ours. Chris Armstrong, why don't you tell these people what went through your head?
When I decided that I wanted to do this Gimmick Cover Summer thing where we looked at a lot of different gimmick covers from the gimmick era of the 90s, I wanted to have a wide variety of different types of gimmick covers to choose from. You could run a poll of all four Spider-Man hologram covers or whatever, but I wanted to do some of the oddities. The winner we have in this one is less of an oddity. There were a lot of die cut covers, but some of the other ones were pretty unique, even for the gimmick cover lousy 90s. So I went with 4 different options. Mm-hmm. The one I was hoping would win was Superman Man of Steel number 30.
Well, color forms. I mean, for crying out loud. It's funny because I think I was probably, I don't know, it was about 5 years ago that I realized what these things were called. I didn't realize color form was the actual term that was used. But,
did you have any of these, either of you, when you were kids?
I probably have more, but the two I remember was the real Ghostbusters and Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
Oh, my God.
Ninja Turtles.
A TMNT one. So...
Yeah, years before this came out, when I was probably 8 or 9 years old, I had a set that I think I've looked like on eBay, and I haven't been able to find this exact set. I saw some hints that maybe this was like an early 80s color form set, but it was Marvel. So basically color form, if you don't know what color forms are, anybody listening, it's basically like a cardboard sheet that has like a slit gloss over it. And they come with these thin plastic stickers that you can put them on the cardboard surface and take them off and rearrange them in different scenarios and stuff. So I had one that was a blank comic book page with 6 panels, and then there was a Spider-Man one, a Dr. Octopus, different Marvel characters. I used it a ton to the point where I have them attacking each other and stuff, and like. It got to where the color forms, the paint was coming off of them, like because I had.
So you're moving them around.
Used them so
now,
much.
If you'd been doing more serious work, you would have had a 9-panel blank page. Been more artistic.
And it would have been a lot of talking heads.
Yeah.
So this Superman cover, it's an issue where Lobo and Superman have a big battle and fight each other. The cover is double-sided. Front and back cover is like the cityscape of Metropolis. Mm-hmm. And it came with a sheet that has a ton of color form stickers to go on it. And it's like a bunch of Supermans, a bunch of Lobo's bike, blood splatters, arms and legs that you can pose in different ways. Similarly to the Marvel set I had a few years earlier, I spent hours rearranging the cover to this Man of Steel issue when I was a kid.
That's awesome.
This existed until you put it on this poll. I'm disappointed.
Yeah, it
wasn't much of a DC guy back then.
Mm. And I know a year or two later they did this again with a milestone DC crossover where it was Superman and Icon. I've only learned in recent years that they did this gimmick again with that issue.
By the way, just to give everybody an idea here, how many votes total? Was it 97?
97 votes total.
Superman, Man of Steel number 30 comes in with 18% of the votes. All right. What was our next choice?
The second time I think this one's been in a poll, Force Works number 1.
That does not get any love.
It's not even when it's going up against Extreme Justice.
Wow.
which is what it lost to last time. It had the fewest votes here, I think, as well. Just a perplexing cover for Forceworks #1 that had a poster. You basically had to ruin the cover to unfold. It looked like crap, too. I actually tried to do it when I worked at the comic shop, and I found a copy of it in a back issue bin, a dollar bin. Trying to pull the poster apart, it ripped. It was really hard to get apart without messing it up. Just kind of a disaster all around, I think.
Did they deduct the 50 cents out of your salary?
Well, they didn't know about it.
Oh.
I had the run of the place on Saturdays.
Nice.
I could do what I wanted. They definitely would not have cared, though.
Yeah, this is a rough cover.
Are there any images of the poster? I think there's also like a pop-up.
Okay, so what I'm looking at here is the pop-up part of the cover. All right, here we go. Let me drag this over. Yeah, that's the other angle because you can actually see the people. It's Wonder Man. Oh my gosh. Well, that's interesting. It's unique.
Yeah, exactly.
Right. Wow. Okay. All right. Forceworks #1, pull off poster, 10% of the vote. Where are you going to next?
Next up, Wolverine #50. It's labeled 75 in the poll because I messed up and it would not let me change it.
Wolverine 50. Explain it, sir. You said die cut, baby.
It's the die cut cover, probably the first one I ever saw, but I doubt it's the first one. Maybe it is. Who knows? It's pretty cool. It's an issue that deals with Wolverine's past, which was unrevealed at this time. He's looking into some Weapon X stuff. It's got a file folder cover with the 3 slash marks representing Wolverine's claws, I assume, and or maybe Shiva's. But and then you see underneath an image of Wolverine going up against this big robot, and then there's a few other images in the preceding page after the die cut cover.
Yeah. A really cool looking cover here. This is the die cut stuff. When you can make it seem, it's got to tie in with the character or something like that. When it can do that successfully, it's, in my opinion, it works. So I think this is perfect for issue 50 of Wolverine. It kind of evokes who Wolverine is and these 3 claw marks that are now etched in the actual cover of the issue to where you can see some of the stuff underneath. Neat gimmick, in my opinion.
I had this issue, but I'm not sure why. I didn't regularly read Wolverine, but I think I got it in some kind of like, remember those like comic grab bags you used to get?
Oh, yeah.
Like at
you
Walmart,
find like at Ollie's and stuff. I think I got it that way. I remember I had it, and I don't remember how I got it. Right. Might have been that undiagnosed kleptomania. I don't know.
We don't talk about that. Okay. All right. And then what was our next choice?
Last option was Eclipso #1. DC comic, who, Eclipso's a villain. I don't know if they were trying to turn him into an anti-hero or something for this series. I never have read it, but it's got a pretty interesting cover gimmick in that it's got Eclipso. One of his things is he has this gem that he, I guess, can use to corrupt people, maybe. I don't really know a whole lot about Eclipso, honestly.
Oh, I thought it was a place you worked out.
But it has a gem attachment on the cover, like a little plastic diamond, like a reddish purplish diamond that is actually kind of glued to the cover, which probably makes storing it a hassle because it's pressing into other comics and stuff.
Right.
Interesting thing that Darkhawk collectors have become wise to recently is apparently people are taking the diamond off these Eclipso comics and gluing them onto the Darkhawk #25 cover.
Really?
And making and then listing them on eBay as like rare Darkhawk cover.
Oh, come on, the last thing Chris Powell needs is an evil amulet. I mean, that kid had problems.
So yeah, those if you ever see a Darkhawk 25 listed with an amulet attached to the cover, those aren't real. Those were never released by Marvel. But
match it up.
I kind of do want one. I do, but I'll make my own before I buy one off somebody.
Right.
That's Eclipso #1.
Yeah, I didn't read much of Eclipso either. Wow. Are we
The only
talking?
thing I really know about Eclipso is that that's his first name, and his last name is actually Hart.
Okay.
Eclipso to Heart.
Totally.
Hey, ladies and gentlemen, Wolverine number 50, the die cut cover, walks away with 49% of the vote out of all four of these. Eclipso #1 with 23%. So our winner is Wolverine number 50, the die cut cover. Well, hey, real quick before I jump into it, what's on the shelves for Marvel at this time? Because this drops January of 1992, cover dated January 92. Actually, on sale date is November 12th, 1991 for Wolverine number 50. We have, I've got to see this.
This was around the time they relaunched all the X books, right?
As a matter of fact, we want to take a look here real quick just to see what was on the shelves at that point in time. Our creative team is written by Larry Hama, penciled by Mark Silvestri. He's coming into like before he leaves Marvel.
Yep, close to him jumping ship.
Inked by Daniel Green, lettered by Patrick Brousseau, and colored by Stephen J. Bucoletto. This is what was on the shelves in 1991 for for 1991, November of 91 for Marvel. So,
Alf was entering his grim and gritty period, I see.
We have an upcoming podcast that's going to be released, I think, next Unspoken Issues for oh my goodness, what was this called?
Round Robin.
Sidekick's Revenge.
Now we can count that Spider-Man. It had a gatefold cover, which you can count as a gimmick.
All right.
Part of the Round Robin.
I won't argue. Fievel Goes West, American Tale. Let's see here. As we go down through, there's that Rawhead Rex. I know we talked about that on the Round Robin, if I remember right. Any gimmick covers standing out for 91?
Guardians of the Galaxy, the background is like a silver cover or color. I guess you would count that as a gimmick.
Okay.
This is pretty early in the gimmick era.
Yeah. Things are about to start getting pretty prolific after this. But yeah, you're right. Well, there's a holiday special. Hey, look at that one, Evan.
I owned that one. I know it. Okay.
That's the first appearance of Squirrel Girl, correct?
That's right.
That's right.
Just to show the best stuff's not always on the cover.
Super Pro number 4.
Every issue of that had a gimmick on the cover. It had Super Pro.
And Deathlock going at it.
Yep.
It looks like this Spider-Man Revenge of the Sinister Six, which I posited as a spiritual sequel to Round Robin, started at the same month that Round Robin ended.
Oh, yeah. Look at that. Look at that. There's our Wolverine 50. Mm-hmm. What if Phoenix rose again? What the number 16?
Yeah, it looks like only Guardians and Wolverine, and I guess Amazing Spider-Man, if you count that.
Right. Let's take a look real quick at DC.
There was a Silver Surfer down there that looked a little...
right here. This one?
I guess it wasn't Silver, but it had the Silver Surfer on it. Alphabetically, it was elsewhere.
When we did this for Wildcats, it was, I think, issue 75 of Silver Surfer, which definitely had a gimmick cover. That was pretty... I mean, that month, and what was it, October of 92?
Yeah.
There was a lot of Marvel gimmicks at that point. All right, let's take a look. We're heading to DC real quick just to see what is on. Let's take a look and see if there's any gimmicks sitting over here. This looks odd. I don't know what the heck is going on there. Dr. Fate
versus the Mask?
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. I don't see anything. Series info, series gallery. Doesn't say anything specific about that, but okay. What else we got? Oh, there's the military Christmas special.
Yeah.
Robin 2. Robin 2, if I remember correctly, has all those hologram cards on the front. Yeah.
So DC's got a few.
And then it has 2 variants.
Oh, they're variants. Okay.
Robin 3. Robin 2, number 3. 5, 6, 7. And nothing else is sticking out. Well, I mean, DC's got Robin 2, that series had some hologram covers on it.
Should we do the comments on the poll?
Oh, yeah. Did we get some?
This one actually had a handful.
Yeah, let's.
Besides the ones pointing out that it's not Wolverine number 75.
There were plenty of those.
All right. I do not remember seeing this, so I remember them giving you a hard.
See, usually when we post the poll in the podcast group, it doesn't get much of a response. But then when you post it in the Unspoken Decade page, that's when it normally. That's when the votes go up. And
there's quite a few more people.
Yeah, and that's when people comment. So Craig Patrillo, I don't know how to pronounce that last name. He says poor choices, as there's much better ones, but you have to go with the color forms. I think that's what he's saying. That's
okay.
So disagree.
I mean,
but hey, everybody's entitled to their opinion.
For crying out loud. It's like we're doing
more than one.
Yeah, we're going to have a few more polls, bro. We'll get there. Trust me.
And then Michael, of those, I think the Eclipso cover and the annuals and series to follow is the most cool and relevant.
All right.
And then Mark Ramier, another Eclipso cover. The Eclipso cover, as annoying as it was for storage due to its profile with the gem, was unique, IMO, and I loved it for that.
Okay.
And then Tony Hopper says, I still have Wolverine 50 in my long box.
Wolverine number 50, Logan, is on a relentless quest to uncover the truth behind his mysterious past. The story begins with him charging through city streets on his motorcycle, storming a corporate building to confront S.H.I.E.L.D. about a covert operation tied to his fragmented memories. Ignoring protocol and plowing through bureaucratic resistance, Logan ultimately forces Nick Fury to hand over a classified NSA file tagged with his name, an act that triggers alarms within hidden government and Hydra networks. A long-buried program code is activated, tied to the elusive pest control section of the Department of Agriculture, which happens to be Wolverine's next target. And that's pest control section in quotes. Logan's pursuit leads him to Windsor, Ontario, with the X-Men accompanying him as backup. At a mysterious warehouse, Wolverine discovers a bizarre movie set-like environment filled with surreal replicas of settings from his own memories, including a cabin, a saloon, and a senior prom. But inconsistencies make him question everything. Realizing many of his memories may have been artificially constructed, Wolverine claws through each set piece in search of truth. Ironically, the absence of one memory, the cabin with Silver Fox, gives him hope that perhaps that memory was real. As Logan digs deeper, he stumbles into a massive vault door he remembers from hallucinations linked to the Weapon X complex. Using a key he retained from his broken memories, which I don't know how he ended up with this key. I assume it happened a couple issues before or something, but he's got a key to get into this thing. He unlocks the chamber, awakening Shiva, a deadly robotic enforcer programmed to eliminate operatives like Logan. What begins as a brutal physical confrontation quickly escalates into a psychological war. Shiva attacks with not just weapons, but with implanted memory triggers that unleash every trauma Wolverine has ever endured. Pain, betrayal, and loss all at once. Meanwhile, Silver Fox reappears, having remembered her own past through the illusionary sets. She confronts the Professor. We're not talking about Professor X. We're actually talking about Professor...
Prof.
Yeah.
That's how he's often referred to.
Prof and Hines are the ones that were attached to pest control, I believe. Silver Fox reappears. She confronts the Professor, who's been watching this whole time, watching Wolverine make his way through these scenes. And she starts to realize that, hey, I recognize some of these scenes that he's going through. She sees the camera, the screen, whatever, that's watching Wolverine. And then she starts to realize that even her memories were manipulated. She is clearly either part of this program that the Prof was conducting. The battle between Wolverine and Shiva culminates with Logan fighting not just the machine, but the program itself, declaring that he's more than a weapon or a beast. With fierce resolve, he tears Shiva apart, asserting control over his identity, but the damage is deep both physically and emotionally. In the aftermath, The Shiva program shifts to its next target, Sabretooth. While Jean and Jubilee plead with Logan to save the others on the list because they found a list with names on it. Wolverine's name is at the top. Shiva's next target is the next one on the list, and that's Sabretooth. Jean and Jubilee plead with Logan to help save the others on the list, but the Wolverine that emerges is different. Hardened by truth, stripped of illusion, and exhausted by battle, he walks away in silence. Xavier closes the issue with a grim reflection. The man reborn tonight is not the Wolverine they once knew, and whatever lies ahead may be darker still. So there you go. That is our synopsis for Wolverine 50. I'm going to go ahead and get my notes out of the way.
All right.
Let's just start with, I'm going to scroll up a little bit here.
I'll point out, you mentioned they found the key earlier. This is the third part of a story.
Oh, I'm glad you said that. Did I even give the creative team, right?
Yeah.
I wrote that at the top of the creative team. Forgot to say it. Dreams of Gore, Phase 3. So, yeah, you got a good point there. So this is probably something that he acquired in part 1 or 2.
Yeah, so I actually would probably have not have known this, but the Simbi fan, on the Unspoken Decade group, he posted, I guess it was issue 48, so it would have been the first part, fairly recently, a week or so ago, maybe less, and mentions that it is the first part of a 3-parter and that it's a sequel to Weapon X, the storyline from Marvel Comics Presents that Barry Windsor Smith did.
Yeah.
And then I realized at that point, like, oh, well, that's what we're doing the podcast on.
Wow.
Is 50, the last part. So I read all 3 parts in preparation, but there's not a whole lot. You get the gist of what's going on with this one. There is a lot going on in this one, but you get the gist of it.
Okay, so he got that key you're talking about for this door.
I think that was in the second part.
Gotcha. Okay, all right, that makes sense. So as far as my notes go, let's just go ahead and start with Wolverine driving his bike through a building and being on an elevator.
Giving True Lies vibes.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was thinking. I was like, this very much feels like True Lies.
He did it strategically.
He was like, oh, I know they're going to expect me in the freight elevator. I might as well just push this bike up the stairs. He didn't carry it, folks. He didn't drag it. He pushed the bike up the stairs.
He tried to flirt with the lady in the regular elevator.
Right.
Don't want them long legs brushing up against the hot tailpipe. It sounds like he's just, legitimately warning her, but in the creepiest way possible.
Yeah. The runt Wolverine. I love how Silvestri makes sure he is 3 inches smaller than everybody else.
Appreciate when it feels like that was like a rule back then. It's way more lax, it seems like, in the decades,
right.
Since the movies came out. He's 6'3" in the movies or whatever, but
yeah.
It's the only way that Hugh Jackman isn't the perfect Wolverine.
Right. I love seeing Silvestri doing some work here. Silvestri was one of the first artists that made me realize I can appreciate comic book art, watching him do what he was doing on X-Men. So it's cool to see him working on this, which I didn't get a chance to look. I should have brought it up, but did Silvestri have a small run on Wolverine? I would assume he did.
It was a pretty lengthy run.
All right.
He was on X-Men first, and then I think he moved to Wolverine for a while. I had this issue when I was a kid. I think it might have been the first Wolverine issue I ever bought. All right. So I don't know how long he was really on there.
Okay. My next note is if there's anything that I learned from this, is that Logan cannot trust anything that's in his head. Now, granted, I'm not picking up Wolverine at this time. I'm reading some of the X books. What Wolverine was a book that I did not get. So I had no idea what was going on, but I knew some of the bigger story vibes as I was going into this, having known some Wolverine issues and storylines prior to this. So I knew that some of this stuff is popping up that was a big part of his history. And now all of a sudden it's like, it actually wasn't something. It could be implanted memory. So it doesn't really clear anything up, in my opinion. It just does nothing but muddy things. At least that was when I came away with this. I was like, well, he's just never going to be able to trust what's in his mind. Aside from the fact that, there's that one moment where he is looking for some information about a cabin or watching to see if anything in that movie set resembles this cabin that he had spent some time with Silver Fox at. And he realizes that, oh, okay, well, that's not in here. So maybe that's an actual genuine memory, which I have no idea what happened in the cabin, but I'm glad for him.
You probably have a decent idea.
Okay.
I wonder if Larry Hama was the Wolverine writer. He had a pretty lengthy run. I think this was a response to the Weapon X story that Barry Windsor Smith did. And it was a way to say, like, well, they revealed some stuff from his past, but we want to keep that mystery as hazy as possible. So let's throw a bunch of other stuff in there to make it even less certain of what's come before for Logan.
100% feel like that's kind of what was going on. I don't know if that's really what the plan was, but I was like, geez Louise, he's walking away with this. There's nothing he could trust that's in his head. Just because you mentioned, was this the time when the X-Men were kind of getting the new series? I was going to say,
we saw earlier, I think the X-Men issue from this month was the Omega Red
number
story.
4. Right. Okay.
Which, in reference to our last episode we recorded, Wildcats number 4 is a Jim Lee kind of covering himself with that cover. It's like the same,
right,
but different character of the Wildcats characters.
The next thing I had here was Jubilee's comment about how she didn't even like staring at a computer screen with Mario's running across it in his raccoon suit. I was like, well, now come on. But then over here, Jubilee says those turtles have a pizza warmer in their van. You'd think we'd have at least a slushy machine. She's a little upset. I really enjoyed Wolverine letting loose on this robot Shiva. This battle was pretty good. He could go nuts with his claws and tear stuff up. Shiva put himself back together or renewed himself, one or the other. It looks like he renewed himself because there's a bunch
they're full of robot bodies, although I think Hines says you just have an unlimited number, and he's like, oh no, we got a budget, but yeah, we got a few.
So maybe you guys can shed some light on this. Let's break this panel down here where Wolverine is going through his trauma. I want to start here. What is going on here? This looks like Private Eye, Howlett, and Sabretooth or something.
Yeah, it looks like Pulp Fiction or something.
Mutants.
I had no idea what was going on.
Now, I don't know if it was referenced before that issue, but in part 1 of this 3-parter, there's an extended sequence where Logan is remembering himself and Creed in a third person as basically like government agents.
Okay. The other stuff I kind of put together just because I know some about his past. Here's our Weapon X stuff. Here's our hand stuff up here, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then down here, just a little bit more of his history that he was experiencing some of the horrors of war. And then my final note was, he's Sabretooth's problem now. Like, he's just like, okay, well, I am not helping that dude. Sabretooth could just handle himself against Shiva. So I'll step back. Evan, I'll let you go next, man. What do you got here for this issue?
Let's see. I must have read it. Like I said, it found its way into my collection somehow. I loved the sequence with the bike. That was pretty cool. I did feel a little lost. I should have done my homework like Chris. In general, I got what was going on. One thing that jumped out to me as a product of its time was the description of them trying to sort through all the data that he got.
Oh my gosh, I forgot about that. I do not know why.
Pages of documentation. After the first 100 pages, I had him run off floppy disks through the modem. Took 2 shoeboxes full of disks. And today you'd have it all on your phone.
A lot of times, stuff like that fascinates me. I love coming across that in comic books because it's indicative of the time that's being written. But a lot of times, the comic books are all about fanciful technology, light years ahead of where we're at right now. But in this instance, it didn't seem like that was the case. They were like, no, let's make this an actual real life analog. What would this be like?
Well, they try to balance that with some of the far off stuff, but also trying to make it a little relatable. I remember the Internet Cafe and Batman and Daredevil.
I do.
I was led to believe that Shiva was a lot bigger deal, and maybe there's other stories with it, but I had a trading card And I was just like, oh man, this Shiva thing, that's huge. And oh, hey, I've got this comic with it. I don't know how often Shiva appeared after that, but they didn't go the route of actually building it in adamantium.
Right.
I mean, it looks cool, but after reading a lot more Wolverine stories and everything, I think this was one where this was in the pipeline when they were doing the card set. And they're like, oh yeah, throw this thing in. It has to do with Wolverine's past. Or maybe it just didn't catch on like they were hoping.
To jump off of that real quick, here's the fandom. And we can usually go down here and take a look at how many appearances for Shiva. Appearances of Shiva.
That is, really?
Wolverine Origins Volume 1, Number 1, 50, 64, and 60, apparently.
I'm glad you brought up Wolverine Origins, because that gets me back on track. This issue, like I said, I don't remember when I actually read it. It probably hit a lot harder when it came out. I mean, because we were, Wolverine's past is a complete mystery. We have no idea. This is huge. And now it's just like, okay, but was Romulus pulling the strings? Had he, was Dakin alive at this point? I mean, I guess eventually, I'm not sure you could keep that mystery going. I think eventually they had to answer it, but it sort of cuts the legs out from some of these older stories. It's still Wolverine, it's the mystery, it's the action, but this would have hit a lot differently when you knew nothing. And yeah, you're right, Jesse, it gives you more questions than answers, but it's kind of like a puzzle box sort of thing, whereas this we're like, well, yeah, but there was this mastermind who was having him do this, and we still need to do a show on it just because of the time travel shenanigans. But the X lives and X deaths of Wolverine was accompanied by an online comic that was basically Wolverine's life story chronologically.
Oh yeah, man.
And it's cool to see all that put together. Basically, in half of that story, he was quantum leaping through his own life to stop Omega Red from killing Professor X.
Nice.
So that part of it was cool. But if you think of this as a product of its time, it's a lot better. Whereas if you're looking at this, like, where does this fit in with the Wolverine story overall? It's not that impressive. I mean, the art's great. There's great action. I'm not bashing it. I'm just saying in the context of what we know about Wolverine, this doesn't have a lot of weight.
I hear you. I can agree. What other notes you got there?
Some of the dialogue for Shiva was interesting. Like, I have backup systems for my backup systems. Did they just have a programmer who threw some of his Larry Hama, forgotten more about writing comics than I'll ever know? I'm just saying some of the dialogue with Shiva makes me wonder, like, who decided to make him a little sassy?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know a lot about Silver Fox. I did not know that she was apparently a higher up in Hydra.
Yeah, me either.
That might have been explained in some of those previous issues. Cool action. You got two good action pieces. Wolverine infiltrating, barging into S.H.I.E.L.D. That was cool. And then Wolverine going up against this robot. The ending where Professor X says, whatever Wolverine emerged, I guess if he found out that what little he thought he knew was fake, I can understand that. But as I was reading it, I didn't feel like it was this profound revelation. Maybe that's just because I knew a lot of Wolverine's past was faked and things like that. But some cool action, looks great, hits all the nostalgia buttons. I love those blue and gold X-Men uniforms. Even Professor X and Jubilee are sporting. So always nice to see those.
Yeah, this must be like, there's a moment where Jean Grey says, with that new costume, and I was like, oh, wow. So this Wolverine's yellow must have just dropped as well.
He was wearing the brown costume until recently.
Right. And I think he gets the yellow one in a issue of Spider-Man, like adjectiveless Spider-Man, if I remember.
He originally had the yellow and blue.
From the very beginning.
He switched over to, at some point in the 80s, he switched over to the brown and tan, which is my preferred Wolverine costume.
Yep.
But yeah, I think a lot of people were happy to see him back in the yellow. And I'm pretty sure I've read somewhere that McFarlane wanted to put him back in the yellow costume because he liked that costume and he wanted to draw him in it. So that happened in Spider-Man. But I think the reason that happened in that Spider-Man story is because he was in Canada and his costume got ruined and he had to wear his backup or something like that. I think this is the official change back to the yellow costume.
Gotcha. Chris Armstrong.
Not a whole lot that hasn't already been covered. I agree that this reads a lot differently now than it did back then. Even going into this in 1991, even coming out of it with more questions than answers, I think people were probably just excited to get any kind of hints or anything into Wolverine's past, and like it being kind of a quasi sequel to a really popular, with the Weapon X storyline. The previous two issues have a lot more flashbacks to him with the headgear in the wilderness and stuff. Seeing Silvestri do that stuff was kind of cool, but again, that didn't happen in this issue so much. Was there references to Wolverine's birthday in this issue?
There was a birthday party.
Okay.
Scene, I think, but that was about it. And then there was the prom.
I was saying with Wolverine's birthday, it's become a thing that I didn't really know about until recently, that, Sabretooth always makes a point to kill someone that Wolverine loves on his birthday.
Oh, yeah. I barely remember that.
And I didn't know if that was something that kind of started here. Maybe it was in one of the two previous issues where they talk about it being Wolverine's birthday or something like that. But again, that's not even this issue. It all kind of runs together since I read them all today. I was very surprised to see Shiva making so little impact, because I also thought he was more of a bigger deal. Who would have thought Cyber would be the bigger threat to Wolverine?
Right.
He comes back a lot, I think.
He just popped up in the latest relaunch.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I remember. I have a friend who's he's an IT guy, and he always gets annoyed by people using the term cyber when they don't know how to, And back during one of the elections, I posted a picture of Cyber on my Facebook and tagged him and asked, who is the candidate that's going to protect us from the deadly cyber threat? That was something going on. I think it was the first Trump-Hillary election. There's a lot of cyber talk.
But does your IT friend realize the man's name is Silas Burr? I mean...
Oh, my God. I didn't realize that.
Silas Burr.
Silvestri, pretty awesome. He's a great Wolverine artist, and there's some really cool stuff, especially with the Shiva fight in here. I like this issue. It's pretty convoluted. Not a lot of answers, but still, if it wasn't a double-sized issue, again, that would probably mean they would be cutting out some of the action. The way the issue leaves Wolverine, Professor X talks about him being a more isolated version of Wolverine. Wolverine started out as a member of the X-Men. I don't think it was just his past. It was a mystery. He was sort of an enigma, I guess. And
might have been an evolved Wolverine.
Yeah. But as the character gets more popular, he gets his own solo series. I wonder if Larry Hama was wanting to strip away a lot of that stuff and make him a harder edged version of him, more like he was in his early days. And if this was a way to torture him more psychologically, not letting him get any answers and make him a little rougher, like he was, when he first in the X-Men and whatnot.
Right. Yeah. Hama's got a run here that he is not done with by a long shot. The more mystery that surrounds this character, the more time it gives him to write, I guess, and maybe Hama, you're right. Maybe Hama didn't want to provide any answers. Just take him back to the basic, brawler that he was, and a little bit of mysterious, and but I know that there's, that's just something that's part of Wolverine for sure. All right, let's pick a panel. Evan Bevins, I'm going to give you first shot here, buddy. What would be your panel pick?
All right, we're going back to near the beginning, page 7. The third panel, which is Wolverine avoiding the freight elevator to get his bike up to the higher level, just pushing it right up the steps. So good. I laughed out loud. There might have been a snort involved.
Yeah, dude. I remember seeing that going, what is he doing? Pushing the dang thing up the stairs. That's a perfect panel right there. I love it. It's just all completely blacked out and bump, 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 bump as his tires go up the stairs. That's good stuff. All right, Armstrong, you're up, man. What do you got?
Let's whittle it down. A lot of good stuff with the action and stuff. I'm going to cheat, and I'm going to go, I think it's page 32. The middle panel there where you got Wolverine's face, and then you've got his mysterious past all around him with his memories and stuff.
Yeah, that's definitely a standout one. He's screaming. He's obviously in some type of agony here. Great pick. I think the one that I had when I was looking at this initially was this one right here. It's not much, but him swinging on Shiva and just opening him up. This is the classic Wolverine using his claws to slash, tear somebody apart. That's the one that stuck out to me when I was reading this. There's another good one here. This one is awesome, where Shiva's kind of standing above Logan as he's laying on the ground. Shiva, again, just like you said, he looks like he's going to be a big deal. He looks like a cross.
Crap, here's the guy from the trading cards.
Looks like he's like influenced by a nihilist in some way. That's what he reminds me of a little bit. But my goodness, I don't know how much more spikes you can get sticking off your armor. You don't want to touch Shiva, that's for sure. All right, well, there it is. Ladies and gentlemen, we have done it. Did it at the same time. We have covered Wolverine number 50 as Gimmick Cover Summer continues. We're going to have more polls out there for you. We appreciate everybody participating and look forward to you guys selecting more stuff for us to talk about in the future months. Let's get into plugs. Evan Bevins, you got the floor here, buddy.
If you like what I have to say about comics but are annoyed by the sound of my voice, you can check out my blog at *51.blogspot.com. Working on a few different things in conjunction with the One World Under Doom crossover. I've looked at another time Doom took over the world and another time Doom formed his own Avengers. If you don't have enough Elsa Bloodstone and Stingray in your life, I've got a couple issues for you that may be able to scratch that itch. Also venture into movies occasionally, whether it's DVDs I've been able to pick up at Dollar Tree or slowly rewatching the Godzilla movies or watching them for the first time. Just a little bit of everything. So check that out.
Evan Bevins' plugs are done. Chris Armstrong, you're up next.
You can find me on Twitter, Blue Sky, and Instagram at BrodyMan34. I also have another podcast I do with my buddy AJ where we talk about direct-to-video and made-for-TV movies called Small Screeners. And we also have another movie podcast called Because Movies. You can find those on your podcatcher of choice.
Silas Burr.
Silas Burr.
Unbelievable. Yeah, hey, ladies and gentlemen, go check out the Source Material Comics feed on YouTube or any podcatcher of your choice. Listen, this show right here, Unspoken Issues, is in affiliation with the Unspoken Decade. Check that Facebook page out for all sorts of great 90s comics goodness. We have a lot of dedicated people that share some great content over there. So if you get a chance, check that out. The Source Material Comics podcast here on the Source Material Comics feed is focused on any comics of any era. So if you want to check any of those out, you can. I think right now, Mark and I are in the middle of finishing up our discussion on Sons of Anarchy Redwood Original. If you're a Sons of Anarchy fan, this is a prequel written in comics. Comics are good for telling a story that may not have been able to make it to TV or the big screen. So that is definitely something you can check out. And then, of course, Evan Bevins and myself discussing Marvel Snap. If you have a mobile device, you can download the game Marvel Snap, and me and Evan will tell you about what happened the previous season, what's going to be coming up on the next season, and then we're also going to be hitting you with a top 5. We may also hit you with a tier list, what we unlocked, and meta discussions too. So we had a lot of fun on that podcast. We drop about 4 or 5 episodes a month. Check it out. Well, that being said, Gimmick Cover Summer continues. Check us out next episode. Watch for more polls. They'll be on the Unspoken Decade site and the Unspoken Issues Facebook site as well. So keep an eye out for them. We're out of here. That's Evan Bevins. Chris Armstrong's over there. I'm Jesse Starcher. Have a good one. Bye-bye.
Thanks for joining us. All of this would not be possible without W2Mnet.com, so make sure to seek them out for more podcasts. If you enjoyed what you heard today, Please feel free to share, and we look forward to entertaining you again soon.